Hi, this is Matthew at Everybody Community. I just wanted to share a note about some of the news that I think most Americans don't know. And this is about what's happening in Gaza. And I made some notes here. I'm just going to check my notes. What did I say? Oh, yeah. So the IDF is pulling out right now of the Gaza area. I guess they're pulling out of Khan Yunis, and they left for the people there when the people go back home. They spray painted all over the walls everywhere, and I don't know what they spray painted. I really don't care, but I'm sure it's nothing positive. I'm sure it's more of their usual taunting, disrespectful garbage, which is the habit of the IDF. Another thing that maybe 322 trucks. This is April 8th, 2024. So this is current up to that date. And I'm sure there will be more developments very soon. 322 trucks went in today. That's more trucks for Gaza with supplies. And people are starving there, and people are dying from starvation. They don't have water. They don't have food. They don't have electricity. So 322 trucks. Normally, before October 7th, they'd get between 500 and 700 trucks going in. So it sounds like, they really need a whole lot more, and 322 is nowhere near enough. But I think Israel's proud of themselves because it's less torture. So they're still torturing, that's their style, but it's less torturing. Should be 500, 700 trucks. So uh, they're probably getting ready. I know that they bombed the Iranian embassy that was in Syria, and they killed some key guys, which fantastic intelligence. The Israelis have fantastic intelligence, and they have an incredible ability to murder. And because that's what they focus on. They focus on spying, and they focus on killing. And if you do that all the time, if you have that kind of a heart, that kind of a mind, that kind of a culture, you're going to get really good at anything you focus and anything that you practice. So I think that a lot of Americans don't really look at Israel the way that we who have been around the world, we who have seen both sides, we who have been to Israel, and we who have been to many countries, Arabic countries as well, we have a little bit of a different perspective. Now, I don't have a horse in this race. I don't have any side to take. All of my views have been developed through watching the news from international sources and getting the information that way. There was a message, and the message was from Trump. And Trump sent a message to Netanyahu, and he said, hey, you're getting bad PR from this. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You should stop, this pretty soon. And he didn't really say stop. No, I'm wrong about that. He said finish up. Finish up what you're doing. Finish up, to me, that sounds like just continue the genocide. Wipe out all more citizens in Gaza. Now, the idea that the IDF is going out there to get rid of Hamas is a ridiculous idea, and you should know this. You should know that Hamas is an ideology. And these people that have been tortured and beat up and abused and murdered and had white phosphorus dropped on their schoolyards and recently had 37 hospitals leveled, so they're not operational anymore, which is every hospital in the Gaza Strip. Um, these people, they are not going to say, okay, we give up. We don't want to be defended by Hamas. We don't want to have defense anymore against the genocide. That's just not going to happen. This is their home. This is their land. And they were here before the invasion in 1948. Um, and, that was never agreed upon because if someone comes into your house and they say, I'm going to take the living room, you can have the other room. How long are you going to put up with that? Especially if they kill your son when your son tries to throw them out the door, or they rape your daughter. How long are you going to let this invader that illegally came in and took over your home and said, oh, I'm offering you, you can have the bedroom. I'm going to have one of the bedrooms. You can have the spare bedroom. This is the deal that I'm offering you. This is the kind of deal that has always been offered. Now, what about, here's another key thing that most Americans aren't going to know, aren't going to understand, or aren't going to get. But here's something you really need to, the truth about the October 7th invasion into Israel. It wasn't only at the place where there were people at a concert. There were like 10 or 12 different places where Hamas broke through, and it wasn't only Hamas, it was other resistance groups that are tired of the invasion. And they went in and they did some killing, and there were some bad things that happened. It's true. It wasn't great. But what I like in that too is this. If there's an attacker that breaks into a home, like the Israelis, like the Zionists, broke into Palestine. Okay, there were already Jewish people there. They're getting along fine for hundreds and hundreds of years. Jews and Arabs, Palestinians, that was all stable. There was something special that happened in 48. These were not your average Jewish people. These were people with a Zionist vision, and they wanted to take over, and they announced it. So look it up. From the river to the sea, that's what they wanted, and that's what they still want, and that's their plan, that's their goal. And so any Palestinians that are saying, hey, this is our land, you can't have this, they're in the way. And that's why there's been so much genocide going on. It's not about Hamas. It's never been about Hamas. It's about people in the way of the Zionist agenda of getting from the river to the sea and controlling that whole area. They want that whole area. That's their plan. That's their goal. And they've said that repeatedly. So we got to understand that. So when they came in 1948 and started that with their state, who gave them the state? Britain. In fact, the billionaire Rothschild. So if you look at the paperwork around that, when Rothschild wrote the letter, trying to remember the name of that letter, um, he he said, "Oh yeah, you guys can go in there." He was a Jewish guy, and he wanted a home for the Jews, which they don't need anymore because most of them are living, or at least half of them are living outside of Israel. If the Jews needed to live inside Israel, they'd all be there, but they don't need it. They're happy all over the world, including in Iran. And have you ever heard of people that are Jewish that live in New York Jews? Have you ever heard of that? They're happy. They've done great. Have you heard of all the ones that work and live in Hollywood that are part of the motion picture industry or that own news channels, that own the press channels? There are a lot of Jewish people that have great investments and are just happy and they're just fine. So this idea that the Jewish people need a home, no, that's not true. Zionists, they want this place where the Palestinians are so they can expand and so they can have that whole area. And the Palestinians are saying, no, look, we've been here hundreds of years in peace with the Jewish people, no problem, and we've never abused them. So what do we say? What am I saying about the October 7th? Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's kind of like an attacker on top of a woman who's defenseless, who doesn't have the strength of this big bully, and he's abusing her for 75 years. And she has a chance to free one of her hands that he's holding down, and she scratches his face. Just a minor pushback. He's still on top. He's still abusing her. He's still hurting her. He's still violating her. That's the case. And when you look at where's all the fighting been going on since October 7th, all inside Gaza by the IDF. Gaza's not Israel. So they're invading, they've gone inside of Gaza and they're attacking. That's like this big bully breaking into this woman's home. Been doing it for 75 years, been doing it again since October 7th. Nothing new about that. And just because they got statehood from Britain, have you ever seen Gandhi? You know what the Brits did to India? Do you know what the Brits have done all over the world? Colonial. It was a colonial experiment and it failed miserably. So a lot of colonization has gone on. America has colonized, the Europeans that invaded America, genocided the Native Americans, broke every single promise they made to the Native Americans. That was colonization. But that was before. Belgium, France, Portugal, and the UK, the empire, they have been colonizing, and America did some colonization too after they got established. So this colonization thing is ending. It's over. It's not an option anymore. It's brutal, genocide, dominating, taking all the resources. And this is what's happening now. This is the difference, is that the world is realizing, oh, I guess colonization is not a good thing. And this experiment with Israel is an absolute failure, and the people are fighting back. So Iran is supporting the Gaza people of Gaza, the Palestinian people. So are the Houthis out of Yemen. So is Hezbollah out of Lebanon. Russia's already got in the Golan Heights, which is everybody agrees that's illegally been occupied by Israel. So, but it's an advantageous place because the it's high up in the hills and you have a chance to attack or do anything you want from there. So that's why Israel took that, because it's an advantageous location. Okay, so finish. Trump said finish the war. What's that mean? You're not going to wipe out all of Hamas. You're not going to remove all the Palestinians. It's become apparent that America is complicit and that the Biden administration is committing war crimes by supplying weapons. What if a guy goes into a shopping mall? He's a crazy madman. He's got a gun and he's shooting people. Here's what the American, here's what the Americans are doing. Here's what the Biden administration is doing. Okay, well, hurry up and finish what you're doing. He's an invader. He's broken into a place that's not his. Gaza is not Israel, and they've broken into a place that is not theirs. In fact, all of Palestine was never Israel. And there's going to be some debates about that, isn't there? All of Palestine was never Israel. Just look at a map before Israel was established. That was Palestine. And they were illegally invaded with the help of the Brits. In fact, the Brits were dealing with, the establishment of Israel were all terrorists. Look that up. They were all terrorists, and then they become official leaders of the country. So when the terrorists came in, they made so much trouble blowing up the King David Hotel, killing a lot of Brits. The Brits just said, look, we're just going to get out of here. They didn't hold anybody accountable. In fact, they recognized the terrorists as having their own country. How do you think the Palestinians felt about that? They never agreed because there was never a fair deal. Okay, so when we say finish it, it's going to be impossible to finish it. These people from the IDF and from Israel are invading somebody else's home. They're the ones that should get out. Get out of Palestine. That's my message to Israel. Get out of Palestine. You're not welcome. You're not wanted. It was never a fair deal. You were never allowed to come in, except that you had superior firepower. So you were better at killing. That's why you have a country. That's why you have a state, because you're better at killing and spying and manipulating the press and controlling. You had more money. And you managed to manipulate other countries so that they're supporting you. One way is by paying off Congress people in America. And these people are spineless and these people have no integrity. So they're accepting money and saying, okay, I'll support you. Wow, Israel's really great. And then they conflate that with Jewish people, which Jewish people are not Zionists. It's not the same thing. A lot of Jews support Israel. A lot of Jews are Zionists. A lot of non-Jews are Zionists. But the Zionist agenda started the wheels turning around the turn of the century, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. And that's when they started their agenda of, we're going to take over Palestine. We're going to move in there. And they got the British help. And now they're getting the Americans' help. So the guy that breaks into the mall and he's killing people, America is giving him guns. And they're saying, look, like Trump, look, you should finish this up. Finish what up? killing all the people in the mall that you've invaded illegally, murdering them. Oh, and here's some more guns. But you should better finish up. And then the madman, the sociopath, the psychopath, the homicidal maniacs. And you've seen videos of these guys stealing and violating the Palestinian people, doing insulting things with their clothing and with the children's toys and laughing and joking in front of the camera. What kind of scum is it that would do that? What kind of scum? So this madman in the mall, he's killing more and more people, violating people, and America is giving him guns. So this is a USA-backed terrorist operation. Finish that? You're going to finish that? Finish what? Get out of Palestine. It's my opinion.